Hello everyone, welcome back to Atreyu Crochet. So in today's video, I'm going to be answering the question, why does my crochet get wider? Basically, when you're crocheting, you notice that your project is getting wider when it shouldn't be. So for instance, if you look at this little swatch that I've made, it's pretty much remaining the same width, right? It's not getting wider, it's not getting narrower. It's what I want. And if you saw my video about why does my crochet get smaller, then you know what I'm going to say. The first place that you should look when trying to answer the question, why does my crochet get wider, or when I crochet, why does it get wider, is at the number of stitches per row. Okay? Whenever you're crocheting something and you don't want it to get wider or narrower, you basically want to maintain that width, then a lot of times this will entail maintaining the same number of stitches. So that's the first place that I'm going to tell you to check out. Make sure that you have the correct number of stitches for each row. And then the second thing that I'm going to have you check is your tension to make sure that it is consistent. Has it been inconsistent? Were you crocheting at a certain tension but then later on in the project? Or is the tension just inconsistent all throughout the work? Okay? Things like tension and not maintaining the correct number of stitches will definitely affect the shape of your project. So now let's look at a couple examples as to why your crochet may be getting wider. So if we look at this example, all right, we notice that, okay, yes, this top is definitely wider than this bottom, okay? We started out down here and we started out with 6 stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, so 3 over here and then 3 over there. That was our intent. And because we don't want this to get wider or narrower, then that means that each row should have 6 stitches in it. Okay, let's go to the next one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so that's good. And I notice that there's a stitch in every stitch below. That is what allowed me to maintain the same number of stitches. Of course, that being 6. Let's look at this next row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Well, that explains why this row is wider. It's wider because there are more stitches in this row. Now you might be wondering, how in the world did that happen? Well, let's look. There's a stitch in that one. There's one in that one. There's one in that one. Oh, I accidentally put 2 stitches in that one. So I accidentally added an extra stitch that should not be in there. Maybe I was watching television or I just wasn't paying attention where I was inserting my crochet hook and I went into the same stitch and I added an extra stitch. Okay? And then let's finish the row, 1 in that one and 1 in that one. Okay? So because I put 2 stitches in that one and I didn't skip any stitches, I ended up with an extra stitch. And of course, now I have 7 stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So even if I do everything right in the next row by putting 1 stitch in every stitch below, I'm going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 stitches, because that's the new number of stitches that I have in every row. So basically in this example, I've accidentally increased in this third row by adding an extra stitch there, and then I'm carrying that increase throughout, and that is why it's getting wider as it's getting longer or taller. Okay, so just be mindful of that and make sure that you are maintaining the correct number of stitches for each row. As soon as you notice that your crochet might be getting wider, it would be a good idea to stop and count your stitches. Compare how many you started with and how many you're currently at. Another reason that your work could be getting wider is due to the tension. Okay, so let's count the stitches first, because I say that's always a good starting point. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So we want 6 stitches in each row. Let's count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's not a number of stitches problem. But if I look at these stitches when compared to these ones, see how you can see the holes in there? You can see the blue peeking through the stitches, whereas down here, not so much. Well, that's an indication that the tension is different up here. And in fact, the tension is looser up here, okay? So because the tension is looser, it made bigger stitches. And with bigger stitches, the work sort of got bigger, and that's why it got wider, okay? So just be mindful of your tension. Make sure it's consistent. If you start it like this, then try to continue with that same tension throughout your work, and you should be able to maintain this, okay? So check the number of stitches and check your tension to make sure it's consistent, and you should wind up with a nice even piece of crochet. Hopefully this video answered your question, why does my crochet get wider? Okay, so definitely just keep an eye on the number of stitches as well as your tension, and you should be all set. Well, that is it for this video. I'll definitely see you in the next one, and in the meantime, happy crocheting.